Hi, it's Amanda here. I am so sorry about the mess. It's normally a lot tidier than this.
Yeah, I think it is.
Normally, but I'm in the, I think it is, I'm in the middle of preparing to move, but I'm also working on a couple of exhibitions and some other things that are happening which I can't really talk about until tomorrow, actually. I wanted to do a studio tour before I left this space, and I wanted to just really share my experience of the space and not to really overwhelm you with, oh my gosh, look at all that stuff, because as I said, I'm packing and I'm not sure whether you can see some of the back shelves where I've actually started. I decided to just go for it, and I didn't want to be surrounded by boxes, but the reality is that you're packing, so you are going to be surrounded by boxes. And then the other thing I wanted to make sure I did was kind of pack it in a way that I would be able to manage it, and I'd be able to do the other bits and pieces that I needed to do. So I guess what I had to work out in my mind was, what are the essentials? What is the work that needs to get finished, as opposed to the work that you would like to finish, and there's no real deadline for it. And even in saying that, what I'm doing now is very time consuming. What I'm doing is I'm working on these panels of painted fabric, and I'm applying beads to them. Now the beads are this tiny seed beads that, you know, it takes like forever to kind of put them on this really fine needle and apply it. But I'm finding myself doing that. It's because I want to get them finished, because at some point I want to put them in an exhibition. But the reality is that is not the that is not a priority. So just even doing this video has helped me work that through in my mind and say, okay, it's a really nice soothing activity, but it's one maybe that when you're sitting down of an evening and you'll say with the family, and you know, you can chat, and you know, you can maybe do some of the sewing, the finer sewing work in company, as opposed to doing it now when the real essence of what needs to happen is that stuff not only needs to be packed, but the stuff that I'm not using needs to be packed. And I wanted to, as I said, I'm sure I said this already, I wanted to do a studio tour, which I will do, I think, in the next video. But what the move has, or having to move in 3 weeks, it's really helping me to fine tune in my mind what things are important, and what things that, you know, obviously you're trying to make an income from your work, but what are those things that again, what are those things that need to be done, and what are those things like, you know, yeah, I really want to try working on these things, but this is maybe a for later project. And then I'm coming up with loads of ideas in my head that I want to do, and it's like, you can't do everything, so write it down. And I've now got an ideas book to put down all those things that I would normally just stop everything and go and do it. And I'm looking at some things that are one of those exercises, but I'm glad I did them. And I'm calling them spirit dolls, sister spirits, or I don't know. But there's 3 of them, but I want to make sets of, and they're just dolls using it's clay and fabric, and there's going to be lots of beading on them. But again, that's an activity that maybe doesn't necessarily need to be done right now, because again there's other things that are priority. So that's what I would normally do. I'd normally just drop everything and say, right, I want to work on this, and I've got loads and loads of work that I haven't shown, that I've completed, that kind of like are sitting there waiting patiently to be given, be birthed into the world. Yeah, one of the other things I wanted to just touch on was the feeling of being stuck. So I found thinking about moving and packing up all of this just made me freeze. You know, it's just like I became immobile. I didn't want to even think about it. And I went through a series of things that happened. I went to London to see folks and family and friends, and you know, my mum especially, and sister, and everybody anyway. And I was away from my studio for 21 days. I wasn't really doing the creative stuff that I wanted to do. I knew that I had some deadlines coming up, and I was just feeling overwhelmed, and I didn't really want to think about it. And then when I came back, it was just like it took me forever, it seemed, to get back into some sort of routine. And I'm still not there yet, but I found that what I needed to do was think about all the things that I'd not only achieved, that I wanted to do. I realised I was neglecting myself in terms of not, you know, giving myself the right fruit and vegetables, taking time out, you know, thinking about what I'm grateful for, think about what I can share and give to others. And when you take the focus off that and you start thinking about how hard things are, how difficult things are, how, you know, this isn't happening, that isn't happening, you just end up spiraling down into just a series of, you know, you start doubting yourself, you start questioning yourself, you start comparing yourself. Anyway, so I did a blog post and it looked at 10 tips for self-care. So when you're neglecting yourself, what are the 10 things you can do? And so acknowledging that there was a problem was the first thing, you know, because if you don't say, okay, this isn't working the way it is, I don't like things the way, you know, this is not me progressing and giving and sharing and learning, this is just me feeling sorry for myself. So you're eating the wrong foods, you're binge TVing, you're not getting the exercise you would get, I'm not spending my quiet time with God, and me going out for a walk, that's my time. You know, me coming back, you know, spending time in my written journal and then spending time in my art journal. I had a set of things which helped me move forward, and they were like little things that, again, if you do them on a regular basis, you see progression. So when I was saying to myself, well, I had a list of, every day I had to do a list of different things, and one of them was reading. I love reading, and I started 2 books. I was really getting involved in them. I started learning about having a kitchen garden and permaculture and agroforestry, because that's, again, where we're moving to. We're able to do a lot of planting and things like that. But I was allowing things to kind of get on top of me. And so after doing these lists, and a bonus was, you know, feed the mind, because one of the things I was doing every day anyway was feeding my mind with encouraging words from other people, and also spending time with family. So making that special time, and for me it would be like between 7 and 9, where, you know, I would cook and then would eat and just chill. But again, that was merging into, you know, finding a TV series that you enjoyed, and then I found I was back to back binge, and it was just like after 3 episodes of one thing, if not more, it was just like I'm sitting here watching people who, they recorded this years ago, and I've got stuff in my studio that I want to do, I've got stuff that I want to create, and it was just like, you know, talking to yourself in that way. Okay, I was still sitting down there, but it was just like, what could you be doing now? What could you be finishing now? And the more and more I allowed myself to dwell in that, you know, well, did you really want to eat that? Were you really hungry? Are you emotionally eating? Are you, you know, so you had to acknowledge that you were doing the things that you didn't want to do. And when you start acknowledging them, questioning them, saying, okay, well, why are you doing that? You know, is it something that you need to change? What is it you need to change? Do you need to, you know, if you're feeling overwhelmed, what can you do now in your studio that would help you? And so even if I ask myself that question now, what would help me is to put away the things that I'm not able to realistically work on now. So for these particular items, what I spent time doing yesterday was the beads that I want to incorporate onto them was to start gathering them. And so now the next time I come to them, I don't have to be thinking about that. So in doing that, I'm saving myself some time. So I thought to myself, okay, I've got a nice little case, especially for these, I've got a nice little case that I can put the beads in. So each one has their, it's over there, each one has a case where the beads that correspond with the particular piece of material is, I'm going to put them all together. And it's these little containers. So each one has its own container which fits into a case, which I can put all together. And then I don't have to worry about this. I know it's something, and I normally, I've got these little cards that what I would do is put a note as to what the next step is. And so it was just like, just start ordering yourself, you know, and if you do it bit by bit, by the end of the day, you would have, you know, got quite a few things which can then be packed away. You're not forgetting about them, but you can't focus on these right now. So when I did these 10 lists, you know, tidying up your space, clearing up your space was one of them. And I think it's kind of helped me get back on track. And one of the things that I wanted to do, which has come from that, was to do something that will help you feel help you gather the things around you that when you're feeling stuck, what do you do? So these 10 tips for me was an ideal way to get me back on track. But you have to also acknowledge that you're gonna get yourself, you're gonna feel like this, you know, you're gonna feel stuck. Every now and again you might get those moments. Now you might be able to stop it from developing where you stop eating right and stop, you know, spending your time wisely. You might be able to just, okay, well, let me go and spend some time nurturing myself, and that is that. Or you might need a series of things that kickstarts you, and so that's what I wanted to do. And I was encouraged also to start vlogging by some online friends, other artists, and you know, I thought to myself, well, you've wanted to do this for so long. I've, you know, wanted to share tutorial videos. I have done a few, but not really in a way that enables me to be consistent. And I allowed, you know, oh my gosh, you know, what are other people going to think? And at the end of the day, it's for those people who are going to be encouraged and inspired. So I think I'll leave it there, and I'm going to try and do a little vlog every day. I like setting myself these challenges, and I will try and incorporate all the different things I'm doing. My studio, when I do the studio tour, I mean, I've got a big table in here at the moment, so it does look a lot smaller, and I've got loads of work on there that I need again to pack away. I need to photograph and things like that so I can share them, and some of them are going into an exhibition, so they need to be packed separately. But the space that I'm going to is a temporary space, but it's half this size. So it's like, oh my gosh, where am I going to put everything? I haven't got enough space, and I was like miserable, and the space as it is, we hadn't done any work on it, so I was just like, okay, the floor is yucky, so I wanted to see what things I could do on a temporary basis, because I'll try and show you if I can this week or maybe next week. Hopefully we'll get it done by next week so that I can start moving some stuff in. What's the best that you can do? How can you make the best of it is what I was thinking. And so again, it was, how then can you pack up your stuff so that if you need to access it, you know where things are, because that's the worst thing. Like, you've packed up everything and the one thing that you need you can't find, and that's what I don't want to happen. So, you know, so I'm going to give you a studio tour, and I'm just going to do it as is. It's looked a lot better than it has, but again, we're packing, so I'm packing, so yeah, that's it. So I hope I haven't rambled too much. I hope I've said some things which have encouraged and inspired you. If you're interested in getting the 10 lists for self-care, I'm going to put my mailing list details under. I've got my blog details. I've actually written it on my blog, which I'll list underneath, and I do want to kind of just do some short vlogs. I wanted to get an what is it called, a drone, so I could do some aerial shots and have some cool music and everything like that. But you're gonna get me. You're gonna get, this is me in my creative space, this is me, these are the things I get excited about. I'm going to do some tutorials, I'm going to show you some how to make stuff. The vlogs are going to be me chatting about different things, and hopefully inspire you, hopefully encourage you and motivate you to be your best creative self, and also just to step out. You know, I'm stepping out of the boat and being comfortable in the uncomfortable. So you're going to join me. Yeah, so if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe, leave a comment, leave if there are things that you see that you'd like to know more about, kind of, you know, leave a comment and I'll share them. And I will share some techniques. I did a video on some of the techniques that I was doing for these, so I'll link those as well. Or I'll add it and show you a snippet of, you know, me working.